I bought a $100 PC from Facebook Marketplace and it came in a bundle of 3. And to be honest, I don't know whether it works or not. The guy said that at least one of the PCs did not work. And honestly, on first looks, I don't know how this would work. There's dust everywhere. It absolutely stinks. There's dust caked all over the fans. It is greasy and grimy. There is cobwebs absolutely everywhere. Bits of the GPU have started to rust. Even the screws are starting to rust and they need a new paint job. The front of the case is absolutely caked and it's starting to rust as well. And I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but there is no feet on the case, which means that the power supply is choking itself. You may be thinking, Corey, why would you buy something like this? Well, first of all, we love fixing up the PC, so that's number one. But second of all, we have a GTX 1060 inside. Now, if this works, that alone pays for the PC. Now, I'm speaking in Australian dollars here, but the cheapest one I can find is around 135 Australian. I have seen them a little cheaper, but for the sake of showing you a screenshot, I'll just put that on screen now. It's also got a Z87 motherboard, that's around 30 bucks I would put on it. A VS650 power supply. The one that I found is similar, but a little bit better, so I'm just gonna put 30 bucks on that. It's got a Crucial SSD and a basic hard drive, so maybe like 20 bucks I'd put on that. It's got 16 gigabytes of Patriot RAM. This is running at 1600 megahertz, so I found a similar kit, so I'll put around 50 bucks on that. It's got a Cooler Master cooler. This bloke was selling 2 of them. If you bought a single one, it was 50 bucks, so I'm just gonna say a single one is 30 bucks, like what he has on the right-hand side of his listing. Thermal take case, honestly, I probably wouldn't buy it, even if it was there, but let's just say 10 bucks. And we don't know exactly what CPU. I'm hoping for a 4690K, but either way, I'm gonna put like 30 bucks or something on it. Now that all totals to 335 Australian dollars, which more than pays for what I spent on all 3 PCs. So even if something is dead, hopefully we've still made a bit of money out of it. Let's get into it. Well, a lot of you guys like to see if it works from the beginning, so let's give it a try. This thing has not been turned on in ages. It's just been sitting in the garage or something. Hopefully we get a post. Okay, this might be the one that he was talking about that wasn't working. Looks like the RAM LED is on, so what I might do is take one stick out and we'll try it again and see if we can get a post. Yes! Would you look at that? So I think he tried to sell it for cheap because it wasn't working. I removed 1 RAM stick, so we probably have 1 dead RAM stick, still 8 gigs of RAM to work with, and we got it to work. Let's get cleaning, guys. This is Tiny 2 Lite, a 4K AI webcam that might be the only thing that can make this face look pretty again. It is equipped with a 1/2-inch sensor and offers 4K high-quality videos day or night. You can use it in landscape, portrait, or even upside down. So if you want to record a video or live stream to your favorite social media platform, you can do that. But before I do that, let's try to beautify myself a bit. I'll add in some bokeh, I'll blur the background, some more slimming up of my face, and I'll get rid of those wrinkles on my forehead. Let me know in the comments if I'm a 10 out of 10 yet. The Tiny 2 Lite also has a built-in dual-axis gimbal, so you can enable AI human tracking. So if I add in normal tracking, the webcam will follow me wherever I walk. Now if we enable upper body with motion and walk around, you can see that it zooms in and out while keeping a constant distance from me to show only my upper body. We also have gesture control, so I can zoom in and out using my hands and can even lock the camera or unlock it by raising my hand by my side. The Tiny 2 Lite also has faster and precise auto-focusing. It is able to correct its focus very quickly, which I would find handy to shoot my PC builds if I want to show off some of the parts. It also has dual omnidirectional microphones with noise cancelling. Here's a quick test.
This is an audio test. 1 2 1 2. This is an audio test.
Tiny 2 Lite can also connect and be controlled using your Stream Deck. It can work for both Windows and Mac and comes in at $179 US. Big Prime Day deals run from the 8th to the 17th of October, and OBSBOT have an exclusive discount code for our audience, designs by IFR. To learn more, I'll leave a link down below. Well, it was quite interesting pulling this apart, and we found some quite gross stuff inside. I'm talking things like flies and bugs, but I don't know. To me, this other thing that we found, which was a cockroach egg, that's pretty gross. That means that there were cockroaches all through this PC, probably making nests. Now, we already know about all the dust. We covered that before, so the case needs a really good hose down and then a good wipe over. There's lots of hair, lots of cobwebs that all needs to be removed. And the inside of the case, especially where the fan was, where it's trying to blow dust out, this is all caked with dust, but it's really sticky and the case smells really bad. So what I think we might do is we'll get the air blower on it, get all of the dust out, give it a good hose down, and then we'll wipe it down with some chemicals. It may even need a little bit of a paint job in places because some of it's actually starting to rust as well. Now the case itself wasn't looking too crash hot. We have scratches all over it. We had all of the dust and grime and cobwebs that were on the inside, but we got it all cleaned up. The front actually turned out really nice. I removed all of the front mesh panels, gave them a fresh paint job, and so there is no rust or anything on them anymore. Now, of course, the case is old, so we're still gonna have general wear and tear. We've got scratches at the front, scratches on the top, but I also did give it a fresh paint job on the inside where there was a little bit of rust that we removed and a couple of scratches. So the inside, especially down the bottom, is looking really good now. And finally, the case now has some case feet. I just stuck some blocks of acrylic underneath. Obviously, you could get better case feet for it. However, the main thing I was trying to do was just to create a little bit of room for that power supply to breathe. There's no point having the power supply facing down if the case is right on the floor. You're gonna choke it. The motherboard's not in too bad of a condition. There's just dust everywhere. We've got dust in the RAM slots, dust down the bottom here, dust up the top in the heat sinks, and we've also got dust in and amongst the I/O. Around the I/O as well, there's also little bits of corrosion. Now, I'm not sure if we can really do much about that, but once we clean it up, I believe that it's the dust causing it, because the dust collects oil and then it's sitting there over time, so it starts pitting the metals, and that's what forms the corrosion. Even around the CPU socket, there is a bit of corrosion there as well, and that's where a lot of dust is sitting. So we'll do our best to clean it up, but one interesting thing that I found on the CPU is that there is a formation of a brownie kind of liquid on the CPU. Now, I don't know whether that is the oils separating from the paste or whether that is a little bit of corrosion as well. I still don't know what CPU it is because I want to leave the cleaning for on camera, so I haven't cleaned the CPU yet. But I'm thinking we're gonna have to remove a few of these heat sinks, replace the thermal paste as well, and get the toothbrush in between all of the gaps and make sure that we get this looking brand new. Now guys, this motherboard is definitely not perfect. However, we have cleaned it up into a really nice state. You can see that there is no dust left on the PCIe lanes. Down the bottom here where all the I/O is, that is nice and clean as well. We got the toothbrush in there. Also the RAM lanes as well. We got the toothbrush in between all of the slots to remove all of the dust that was caked in there. And the back I/O, while we spent a lot of time on that, we did remove all of the dust. However, there's still a little bit of pitting where dust was sitting. And so you'll still see a little bit of corrosion corrosion here and there. But even the fins, we cleaned those up nicely. They were caked full of dust on the inside. And the big thing, which is a real surprise, is there was so much corrosion on the CPU socket. So we ended up removing that. We soaked that in CLR, which is a mixture that gets rid of rust, and I was able to scrape most of it away. So the CPU socket's actually looking really nice now. By the way, guys, the CPU turns out to be a 4670K. So it's not the best i5 we could have got, but it is up there. Now, I'm surprised this power supply is still with us. The case has no case feed on it, so it was completely choked the whole time. How it breathed, I have no idea. However, we got the PC to turn on. I don't know if it's faulty or anything, so we will do further testing with the PC, run a few benchmarks and things like that. Want to make sure everything is stable. Now, for the power supply itself, it just needs a quick wipe over around the outside, and I am going to pull it apart because the inside is looking a little dusty as well. Don't know how the dust was getting in there, but it got in there, and the cables, they need a wipe over as well because there is a lot of dust kind of sticking to the netting that's over the cables there. So we'll completely strip this down and give it a good wipe over. The power supply was in deep need of a clean. We actually ended up taking apart the shell, going in there with the toothbrush and making sure that everything was spotless. Even the fan had quite a bit of dust caked onto it, so I'm glad that we did go in there. We got it looking as good as new, and all of the dust on the cables cleaned up really nice. I know I always say it, but coolers and fans are the worst part of any PC build cleanup that we do. There is dust caked on there, it is sticky and smelly. And this one actually has loads of rust all over it. And it makes me think, did that rust cause the discoloration on the CPU that I was talking about earlier? I'm not sure, or whether that was just oil that's separated from the paste. Either way, this does need a really good cleanup, and I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to get rid of the rust, but what I might try and do is sand it a bit and then give this a fresh paint job to try and stop that rust in its tracks. But I think the main reason for a lot of that rust is the dust is sitting on it for a very long time. Now, the toothbrush is gonna be required to get in between all these fins, kind of like how you get in the gaps of your teeth, but we'll get that nice and clean. Now, the cooler itself was caked with dust. Once we removed that fan, all of it was just stuck on it. It was messy, sticky, and grimy. We got the hose in there, removed it all, and then used the toothbrush to remove the rest. But the worst part was actually the retention bracket down here. That had so much corrosion on it. We soaked that in CLR overnight, and then we brushed that off. And removing it, there was still a little bit of pitting, so I decided to paint it black so that it was all one color again, and it's turned out really nice. You know, the fans in this build, they're not as bad as some of the other builds that we've done, but it's still gross. The dust is caked on there. It's all oily and smelly, so we'll have to get the toothbrush in between all of the gaps, completely clean it up, and make it look brand new. It's always the underside as well. That's disgusting. Let's get it clean. How disgusting was the fan, especially the back side of it, but we got it cleaned up and it looks brand new. There is absolutely no wear or tear to it. You wouldn't even know that this fan was that old. The fan works, it is fully clean now, it's ready to be installed. The hard drive and SSD are in pretty good shape. They just need a basic wipe over. This is a 500 gig hard drive. We have a 120 gigabyte SSD. And we also have a dead fly hanging from it on some cobwebs. So a basic wipe over, that'll clean these right up and make them look brand new. Now the RAM itself is pretty clean. You can see these are two different sticks there. It doesn't look like they came from the same set, and that's probably pretty evident with the different colors. However, they do have the same timings and same speed, so there's no reason why they shouldn't work together, and I'm sure him having it in the PC, they worked together at one point in time. Now I'm gonna do some further testing with both of these as well, because we found out by removing one, the PC was able to work. So whether or not the RAM stick is dead or it just needed to be reseated, I'm not too sure. So we'll give these a wipe down and we'll do some testing later on. Now the backside of the GPU is the worst part of it, and that's primarily because it's been sitting in the build what looks to be for a long time, and then the dust has just settled on top. Now also with that happening, it's also started to rust some of the screws as well. So we'll see if we can do something to treat those a bit, because I don't want further rusting to occur. Now on the front side, it looks pretty good. There's a bit of dust in amongst the fans, but the main thing is the fins on the cooler themselves. So we're gonna have to take this whole shroud off. We'll get in there with the toothbrush. We'll make sure it's nice and clean, and we'll also replace the thermal paste as well. Now on the IO on the back here, I can see a little bit of rust starting to form. Doesn't look too bad. The ports don't look too dusty either. So we'll see what we can do with the pitting and the rusting. The GTX 1060 didn't look too bad on this side, but on the rear and the back of the PCB, there was so much dust caked on there from just sitting there for many years. We also ended up painting the screws because they had a little bit of corrosion on them. I soaked them in CLR overnight. That removed the rusting on them, and then I painted them black. You would never know that they were even silver screws. On the inside as well, we replaced the thermal paste, and I got the toothbrush in there to remove all of the gunk in between the fins. And now it looks like a brand new GPU. Well guys, what a little gem this is. We only picked it up for $100, and it just goes to show that $100 can get you into gaming. I decided to test 3 different games at different graphics intensities. Cyberpunk, obviously it's a little more GPU dependent. So Cyberpunk, we're able to play it in 1080p, but only low settings. Now, this PC, you typically wouldn't play demanding games like Cyberpunk. However, if you did want to give it a go, we were able to get 52 FPS. The GPU was sitting at around 70 degrees Celsius and the CPU at 50 degrees. Now, Grand Theft Auto 5 was a little less demanding on the GPU, so we were actually able to bump that up to 1440p. So we were able to achieve 73 degrees on the GPU, 53 degrees on the CPU, and 82 FPS in 1440p. Our last game, a little more intensive than Grand Theft Auto, but not as demanding as Cyberpunk. We have PUBG. Now we played 1080p high settings. The GPU ended up hitting 75 degrees Celsius. The CPU was 51 degrees Celsius, and we got an average of around 80 FPS. Now I'm not sure if you guys noticed or not, but we have both RAM sticks installed. So that leads me to believe that when they installed that second RAM stick, they didn't install it correctly. So nothing is faulty with this PC anymore. I'm so glad we were able to fix this PC up. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see more videos like this. We have plenty of other PCs on the shelf ready to be cleaned up, ready to be fixed up. And so I hope you guys enjoyed. And consider subscribing, guys, and we'll see you all in the next one.